I'd like to welcome Mystery Ranch as a sponsor to the Western Huntsman. This is a great product. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Mysterium line. Those packs include the Sawtooth 45, the Sawtooth 65, the Beartooth 85, and the Marshall 105, depending on what you're doing with the pack. If you from day pack to backcountry, plenty of space. I like what they wrote on the website. Between the disciplines of calculated preparation and in-the-moment focus, an intangible alchemy exists. We call it Mysterium. It is our most ambitious, tech-rich line of Mystery Ranch hunting packs constructed for the most methodical hunters. I'd agree with that. It's a great pack, guys. I really like the ventilation system. When you put it on, it's nice and tight, but you're still breathing a little bit less of that buildup between the pack and your back when you're sweating and out there packing through the mountains and whatnot. It's a super functional pack, very comfortable. Very good at carrying loads. I've been using it all spring between bear and just like I do a lot of rucking to keep in shape, and it has done a phenomenal job. I've got a lot of top-of-the-line packs out there, and I've always kind of geeked out with packs, but I really do like the weight distribution and the way that it allows you multiple options as to where you're going to either carry a water bladder or one of those Contigo containers or whatever you're going to use. Really impressed. I love the ease of how everything functions on it too. You don't need to watch a bunch of videos to figure out how to undo everything to pack a bunch of meat out. That's really important for a guy like me, I promise. I'm not super smart. So the simplicity, the comfort, the load distribution, it all makes for a wonderful backcountry hunting pack. If you are in the market, check it out at mysteryranch.com/mysterium. Back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway, where you can go into a store and start making payments on something, some high-dollar ticket item, and once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, and it was the first weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down. It wasn't my dad's. It wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money, and so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it, and the cheaper scopes were all sold out, and so I bumped up to this entry-level Leupold scope and put that on the layaway program and had them all put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a Leupold scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the Leupold Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And Leupold, guys, you know them. Everybody knows Leupold. They've been around since 1907. They started as a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff, you can find it all at leupold.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company, and I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Time studio right here in northwest snowy Montana, as we are dealing with another winter storm warning here. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Glad you're here. Got a really good one for you this week. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. And before I get started with that, I just wanted a couple of announcements. By the time, let's see, I'm not sure when this one's coming out. So either last week or the week before, I released an episode called Quick Shots with Jim. And we are just kind of making a push. What those are little 10, 15-minute episodes. And they're anything from, tips to tactics to gear review to gear, recommendations to, politics to whatever. Little snippets that I'm trying to put out that I think will be beneficial to a lot of you, whether you're just getting into hunting and getting started, or you've been doing this and you could school me. So it's just stuff that we're going to talk about within this thing that we do, this lifestyle that we lead. There's just so much out there, and there's a lot to talk about with it. So those are just something to check out for you guys if you're interested. Again, those are called the Quick Shots with Jim. I'm going to try to do, don't hold me to it, guys, but I'm going to try to do one a week. And if you have any topic ideas you want me to talk about, how to cow call or something like that, how to bugle, things like that, hit me up at jim.huntsman@eastmans.com, and I will throw that in the old rotation for you. So this week, guys, I've got my new friend. I have purposely not done a ton of investigative studying because I want to find out here on the show, so you guys kind of learn along with me. But he's a really interesting guy. I ran across him, I think it was like on Instagram, wasn't it? And like I was like, who is this dude jumping up on those exercise balls, shooting his bow and killing all this stuff all over the place? And how do I not know him? Because he knows a lot of my people that are already kind of within my circle. And I'm like, I need to get this guy on the show and learn about him because he's pretty cool. He's got a heck of an Instagram and a heck of a track record when it comes to hunting. He comes from Colorado. He's a guide. He's a hunter. He's a great bow hunter. Matt Schoeller, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you joining me.
How's it going, Jim? I really appreciate the opportunity, having me on the podcast and reaching out. And before we get started, I kind of wanted to just mention that when I was just a little kid, my dad didn't read me children's stories at bedtime. He would read me articles out of his Eastman's Hunting Journal magazine. And I'd lay there with my hands behind my head, closing my eyes. And I would just imagine that I was on those hunting adventures. And it's kind of coming full circle now that I'm on a, Eastman's podcast, and, I get to tell some of my own stories. And
yeah, man,
that's pretty cool. So I appreciate it.
That's cool. I love hearing stuff like that, man. That's awesome. That's the thing with Eastman's. It's been around so long that a lot of us, I don't know how old you are exactly, but I feel like we're fairly close in age.
36.
Okay, I'm a little older. I'm not gonna say no. I'm kidding. I'm 45, so I got what?
Hey, you look like you're 38.
Hey. I was hoping for 28, man.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I look old and decrepit, I know. But it's interesting that this generation, we're like in the same generation. We all grew up with Eastman's, whether it's the magazine or those old VHS tapes you could rent from a place called like Blockbuster Video that a lot of the youngsters don't even know what that is, and it's cool. It's cool for me to be able to be a part of it now, because I was the same way, man. I'd read those articles when I was a kid and imagine myself way up on some mountain in Wyoming or something. And, it does, things have a way of coming full circle, don't they?
They do.
So let's kick it off, man. Just so everybody knows, this is Matt's first podcast, and I always like to be that what did I call it last time? Everybody laughed at me for the podcast, cherry popper.
Yep, there you go. Taking my podcast virginity.
Yes, sir. So I'm just gearing you up so you can get on like a real podcast, like Brian Barney's or something.
Yeah,
this is amateur hour here, but
no, this is awesome. I appreciate it.
Kick us off with I'd like to know kind of where you grew up, how you grew up, and how you got into hunting, and we'll kind of let it roll from there, man.
Yeah, so I was born in Aspen, Colorado, and my dad and my mom, they got my brother and I into hunting as, real little kids, and my dad was always into it, and just, started that flame, and that fire just kept burning, and we started off rifle hunting. My dad was he was a specialist in high country mule deer. So I'd go on all those scouting trips with him, ahead of time. And then during the summer when I was out of school, and then also, he did some mountain goat hunts here in the valley, and I got to go, spend a whole summer chasing goats and looking at goats with him through the spotting scope and whatnot. And then, yeah, I think I was probably 21 when I shot my last animal with a rifle, and that was a high country mule deer with my dad, which was awesome. And then after that, I've been bow hunting ever since. And my brother and I just work really well as a team together, and we just started diving in head first with it and have been doing it ever since. And it's outside of my family, it's my number one passion. We have 5 girls, so got 5 kids, which is
you have 5 girls.
So my partner Melissa, she has 4 with her previous marriage, and then we have 1 daughter together she's 2 years old, Lottie. So we got 5 half the time, and then just 1 the other half. But it's pretty awesome, and so we have all the way from 12, 10, 8, 5, and 2, so all across the board. And so
okay, so
hunting.
I'm going to make a prediction here, Matt.
Okay.
So I have 2 daughters and my wife. The only other male in this house is my golden retriever, which I don't know where he went. He's in here somewhere. I could smell him. But the next time I get you on the show, you're going to have more gray in your beard. And then the next time after that, you're going to have a little, I know, I could see a little bit of salt in there. And that's how I was at 36. And then by the time I was 40, I basically looked like Santa Claus if I let this thing grow out.
Man, they're awesome though. They're all different personalities, and they love the outdoors. And I got the one a little Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas. The other one just little recurve bows, and they're out there shooting the old pumpkins that we have left over from Halloween still and whatnot, and just having a good old time. And
that's cool, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. It's and Melissa, she makes it all possible with, I'd like to talk about the Greenland stuff and how I got into guiding there. And, having a good partner is definitely key to being a successful hunter as well. Just with the time away, I really put in a lot of time. If I'm not bow hunting, I'm literally at home and putting in that family time, because I spend a lot of time chasing my passion, which is bow hunting. And I don't go out to the bars with my buddies. All the free time that I have that I'm not scouting or hunting or doing something hunting related, it's with my family. So that when I go to leave, Melissa's covering all the bases, and, I have my time, and I feel good that I can leave and everything's covered. Everyone's taken care of. So,
man, I think that's such an important point, because I think that, some of the best hunters that I came up with, like when I was in my early 20s, I was just getting out of the service and getting into hunting. And I had this core group of buddies, and I thought that they loved hunting and were as passionate as I was about it, which at the time they were. But I feel like they got married and started having kids and all this, and like they barely even hunt anymore. Like they might go out on a Saturday. And I think that a lot of that is, maybe they didn't pick the right partner that understood that passion. And so like their soul is slowly dying inside because they don't get to pursue that passion. And the other side of that is kind of their fault. They don't put in that investment into that family bank. You need to build that investment up so that when it is hunting season and it's time to go, like you said, like for guiding, I'm gone for weeks. I get a cut now. I guide locally here, so I come home every night, but I'm getting home until 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm gone by 4 a.m. And so it's that investment in your family and putting in the time to make your wife and your kids feel important throughout the entire year, so that they understand when you're gone on an elk hunt or something, that you're not gone because you'd rather be away. You're gone because you're pursuing a passion and can't wait to get home to them. And I think that's an important distinction that a lot of young guys that maybe some of them are out there, maybe they're getting married in 2026. They need to look at those aspects of balancing the passion of hunting and that time you put into your family. And it sounds like you do a really good job with that, Matt.
I do, yeah. And it's really nice too that Melissa sees that passion in me and she knows how much it means to me and how much other things I sacrifice to be able to do what I love to do, and it is a big sacrifice being away from the family. And, like when I was guiding this past season, I mean, I was, definitely getting homesick a little bit, but I also knew that everything was taken care of. And, she was the one that actually, was told me, hey, you have to go do this guiding thing in Greenland. It's such a good opportunity and, you've earned it. And, at first I was kind of like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this because it's, going to be a month away from the family and I'm going to be in a different country. And she was the first one, she's my number one supporter. And she goes, you have to go. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah. So
Wow.
It's cool that she sees the passion that I have. And like I said, it's a lifestyle. If you want to be a successful bow hunter, you have to make it a lifestyle. That's what I have so many friends that, they have so many other activities, hobbies that they like to do, or just, whether it's going out and having beers with the boys or what have you. But, then I call them kind of seasonal bow hunters. They like to, twist the broadhead on, a week before September starts, then go out for a couple times like, I wasn't successful this year, but maybe next year. So
is that kind of like, are you strictly a bow hunter? Is that you only bow hunt, or do you ever do any rifle hunting? Or
so like I said, the last animal I shot with besides coyotes, I'm strictly a bow hunter. So, around the house, if we have coyotes getting too close, I'll definitely whack those with the 223. It was pretty cool. We had one, Melissa was breastfeeding. This was a year and a half ago in wintertime, and had a couple crews by the house and ended up smoking one with the 223 off the deck. So,
nice.
But yeah, it's strictly bow hunting, and I like to do it that way just because I have taken quite a few animals growing up, and I just figure the challenge. And if I can't do it with a bow, then I'm okay, eating tag soup. And you stay in a bow hunter's mindset that way too. When you're doing stocks, you can shoot a rifle so far these days, which, hey, I had clients in Greenland, like, we couldn't get in on caribou and they ended up pulling out the rifle and taking a rifle shot at a caribou towards the end of the trip. And, that's fine. And, we took some bigger caribou than we did, with the clients with bows, just because we could reach out there a little further. But yeah, I'm a strictly a bow hunter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I like to clarify that kind of stuff. I don't know, man. Like I used to be strictly a bow hunter. I went through this phase, and what it did is it made me a really bad rifle hunter. But I've kind of found, and I don't know if it's because of the guiding or I don't know where it comes from, but I like have a lot of respect for guys that just pursue animals with a bow, because there is some, obvious added challenges to being just a strictly a bow hunter. We keep going back to some of the guys at Eastman's, like Dan Picard and Brian. Those guys, they're like strictly bow hunters. I mean, they do
Brian
a whole
Barney.
podcast. Yep. They do a whole podcast called Life of a Bow Hunter. And I think
listen to it every week.
I think that that's a valid point, what you said, that it keeps you in the bow hunting headspace, because in order to be a consistently successful archer, a bow hunter, you have to have like an added level of passion with a bow, and like an added level of passion for suck and embracing the suck, because it's hard, man. But like for me, I've gotten to a point in my life where I like to enjoy a little bit of everything. And so I do like to rifle hunt. I love going on a rifle elk hunt. I love going on a rifle mule deer hunt. I love going on my main thing is archery, elk hunting. That's what I would say I'm very good at, and things like that. But it does, since I've kind of gone that direction a little bit more, it has taken my focus a little bit off of bow hunting. Now that said, they're like, and I've said this a million times on the show, like I am not a bow I am not an archery enthusiast. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a gun nut. I probably shoot both my bow and my rifles more than most people.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not like a hobbyist. I don't get enjoyment out of just going out in the backyard and shooting my bow. I do it a lot, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I do it because it's a tool, and I
Yep.
bow hunt because that is my favorite season, because I like to communicate with elk. So I became a bow hunter, and then I became strictly a bow hunter. Now I'm kind of going back to whatever. And so, do you feel like that was a long way of me getting to this question? Do you feel like bow hunting for you is the archery a passion on top of hunting, or is it you're passionate because you love to bow hunt, and so you're strictly a bow hunter just because of the added challenge? Or are you one of those guys that likes to go to all those 3D tournaments and shoot all the time? And I hopefully this is even making sense. I haven't had enough coffee.
No, for sure. I'm passionate with the bow just because it is that added level of difficulty, and then just the intimacy of being so close to an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like spot and stock is my method that I use. So I love, we've done, we've had really successful, elk calling experiences as well, calling in bulls, my brother and I, and shooting bulls that way. And that's awesome too. I mean, it can kind of, you can adapt, have a lot of tools in the toolbox, but just like spot and stock antelope. I had a late season mule deer tag this year in the rut. That was really
nice.
fun. Yeah, the caribou hunting. It's just the places and the time of the year too. Typically, I have not yet, just because I'm so busy with my schedule. I need to get back to the high country with my bow. I've done that with a rifle, and we've taken a lot of high country bucks with a rifle. And I live in the Roaring Fork Valley. We're in Carbondale, Colorado here, so have just great high country mule deer hunting right in my backyard. And I always go out in the summertime, and I take my dirt bike up the single tracks, and then I hike from there with my backpack, and I'll do an overnight or couple nights out and just glass. And what I like to do, Jim, is, I'll do spot and stocks on these deer in June and July, just for fun. So I have my video, my camera out, and I'll be camped way up at 12,000 feet and bed some bucks down and just pretend like I'm hunting. It's like, hey, and I'm not bumping them on purpose or pushing them around, but I just like to get in and be like, boom, checkmate, got you, and I take a video of it, and it's cool to have that experience, and I can do it right in my backyard. So why not, in the off season? And I just love that high country as well. And
so
that's, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, man. I cut you off there.
No, you're good.
It's always like that when we're recording remotely like this. Yeah, sometimes I don't.
Yeah, you're all good.
Now, whatever. I don't mean to step on you. So, and so you and your wife, you guys live do you guys kind of live off grid out in the sticks somewhere, or are you like homesteading? Tell me a little bit about that part.
I mean, we're in a subdivision, but we're about, the closest town probably takes us 15 minutes to get to Carbondale there, but we are up it's called Missouri Heights. So we're kind of back, definitely further out than people that live down on the valley floor in town. So my house is at 7,400 feet in elevation.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah, that's way up
from
there.
my house. I mean, I can look out at, all the peaks around me, and I can see all the way up to the ski slopes up towards Aspen and down towards Glenwood Springs, Carbondale area. So
nice. I'm vaguely familiar with that area. I have never hunted Colorado though, so I might have to change.
You know what? That's what I tell people, like friends and everything. I go, you don't hear any of these guys that are super into elk hunting with a bow coming to Colorado. I'm like, it's not, unless you have a good tag, it's not great. We have a ton of elk, and we have the most elk, I believe, than any of the other states. But I mean, that's changing too here in 2028, how they're going to do the tags. But I mean, you listen to all these guys talk about, I mean, they're coming here to do, like Brian Barney, he's coming out to do some high country mule deer hunting, and those guys, I mean, that's a great state for high country mule deer in general, but you don't
Yeah.
hear a lot of people, it's more like Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah. Those are more the states I feel like for probably better elk hunting tags, unless you have a bunch of points in Colorado and you happen to draw something. But
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I feel like you're just trying to sell people on not making it
yeah.
so there's
Don't
no
come here.
non-residents coming
Yep,
to Colorado.
exactly.
Look,
Colorado sucks.
Montana doesn't even have elk, so I think
Yep.
Colorado, the highest population in the lower 48. No, man, I know what I actually I'm smelling what you're stepping in, because I grew up in Utah, and I feel like there's a lot of similarities between Utah and Colorado in terms of the high country mule deer. You're hunting way up at 10,000 feet elevation. That's where I cut my teeth with a bow, was hunting in that high country in Utah, chasing mule deer. Failed miserably at it 99.99% of the time, because there's nothing quiet about walking on shale rock where they were bedding. But I kind of miss some of that. But it's what's intimidating to me when I think about like hunting with a bow in Colorado or Utah, even in some of the areas in Utah I used to hunt, is like I've been in Northwest Montana and North Idaho for so long, this real thick, brushy country. I use that. A lot of people see that as a handicap for the hunter, because you can't just sit there and glass and be like, oh, okay, there's a muley bedded down over there. For me, I've learned to adapt to it, and I wouldn't know how to hunt without all that cover. I went mule deer hunting in Wyoming, and it was wide open. And I was like, holy cow, man, how do we even make a play on these animals? They could see you from 500 yards away, and we were bumping them from way off, but it's just it's a matter of getting used to hunting that kind of country. So I think it's like a next level. If you can sneak up on an animal in that more open aspen type country of like Colorado, Utah, with a bow, that's even more, I don't know, prolific.
It is. And then the spot and stock antelopes even a level on top of that, because they're you're hunting pancakes is what they call it, just flat, and just yay high grass, and that's usually my first hunt of the season. And that's another thing that I was going to talk about, is the archery antelope hunting. My brother and I used, we burnt 7 points like 5 years ago to draw a really good tag, and went on that hunt, and it was so cool, just a lot of animals, and we both tagged out with our bows. I'm telling myself, I'm like, man, how do I, do this every single year? There's some, tags that you can get for antelope out eastern Colorado, but it's just not the same quality of hunt. So I started doing some research, and this is kind of where, living that bow hunting lifestyle, it's not just during season, it kind of goes throughout the year. So it's just brainstorming, trying to figure out the game and the system. And I know this old timer, he's my dad's buddy, and he hunts antelope every single year in a pretty good unit. I go, hey, Mark, how are you doing this? And he goes, well, for the last 25, 30 years, I've been getting landowner vouchers from some of these ranchers that I've been in contact for, 25, 30 years. He goes, hey, I'm at the age, like, I just want a doe tag, and I just love the meat, and we do too. That's our favorite meat here in the household. So he goes, I'm going to give you the contact numbers for my hookups, and hopefully you can get some tags out of it. And I go, man, that's awesome. So he ended up passing that information along. I became friends with these ranchers and farmers, and sometimes they get tags, sometimes they don't, and can usually, for $500 or, depending on the tag, $1,000, you can get a antelope tag voucher, and they're good for, unit wide or private land or both. And that's another thing. I mean, I have no issues knocking on people's doors. I mean, especially like men, macho, they don't ask for help, but it's like, hey, bow hunting's hard enough. If I can knock on your door and ask, at least, they say no. And I've had a lot of success doing that with antelope properties. But it also always doesn't work out that way either, because I had, the one year I got a tag from this one rancher, and he goes, "Hey, since you're buying it from me, you can hunt my 6,500 acre, lot that he runs cattle on." And I go, "Sweet." And I was in there spotting stocking, and just wasn't seeing that quality of bucks in there, and had a couple opportunities and just never let an arrow loose. But so I go back into town to grab a drink, and there's a little general store there, and I walk in, and it's just the AC hits me in the face, and then the next thing I smell is spearmint or wintergreen chewing tobacco. And these old ranchers are sitting there with big lips in their mouth, chew all down the front of their button up, pearl snap. And I'm walking in the store, and I go, I need to ask these guys, if they have any tips or whatever, because they're out here every day in this unit,
Oh
checking
yeah.
on cows, watering cows. So most guys, would, just walk on by, tip their hat or whatever. So I go, "Hey, I'm hunting here." And they go, "Oh yeah." He's like, I've been seeing this buck around this watering hole. When I go out, I fill up my generator with gas to the old windmill to pump water for the cattle. And he's like, "I'm out there, once or twice a day, and I typically, I'll see a buck out there." And it's just a spot out on public land, just a water hole. So I go, "Hey, what, this guy's out here every single day all year round." I go, "Why not give it a shot?" And I was waiting for my brother to come up and meet me the next day. So I went there, and I just set up on a water hole. And I like to do spot and stock, and I have a lot of success doing spot and stock, but I set up on the water hole with my blind, and got it all situated. And sure enough, this buck comes in. I shoot this buck at 21 yards, and it's an 80-inch buck, just huge
Nice.
mass. It's my biggest antelope I've ever shot. And, so it goes, I mean, but then I've also, gotten permission, and, if that works out, that's great too. But it's just,
That that's like a little hot tip, actually, from a standpoint of getting permission. It's easier, I found, to get permission to hunt private tracks with a bow than it is for rifle hunting.
yes,
They're
for
way
sure.
more, yeah, and they're way more. I think I talked about this recently in an episode, but also predator hunting. They're way more
Yeah.
open to letting
Hmm.
predator hunters. Like, we had this dude that his land is like this real long. This is with the outfitter. It's this real long strip of land up this drainage that blocks an entire mountain that has a set of drainages that go up the other direction, and it's loaded with elk, man. And he will
Nice.
not give us permission to cross his land. But we approached him. We're like, "Hey, we just ran a cat across the bottom of your land up there in the middle there. Would you mind if we let the dogs out and chase his cat?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it was a mountain lion." And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh yeah, no, absolutely, go." And so
Sweet.
we feel like that has maybe opened the door. We can maybe, I don't know,
Yeah, just
find a way
yep,
to incentivize him to let us.
relationships.
Yeah, it's just, and that's all it is it's just building relationships. Everybody acts like it's so hard to get permission to hunt land, and it has become a lot more difficult. But like, I'll bet you and I could do a podcast just on getting permission to hunt private tracks, and
Yeah. Yep.
there's a right way to do it, and it's still totally doable. You don't need thousands of dollars to get access.
No, and that's a good point too, because I was in college and all my buddies were getting drunk going to the football game, and I pulled there was one private land tag left for rifle season. And I think I was probably like 18 or 19 years old, and I pulled that tag, and I go, "Sweet." And I was going to school up in Fort Collins, CSU, and I hopped in the truck, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go, go ask for this." I went and asked for permission ahead of time, but um just started knocking on doors, and 4 out of the 5 said no. My grandson hunts it, or my kids, but really nice about it. And
Yeah.
ended up just going up the line and on my Onyx, and I found this house, and I went up to it, and the lady goes, and this was with a rifle back then, but she goes, "Yeah," she goes, "You can hunt here." She's like, "It's gonna cost you though." And I go, I'm like prepared for maybe a couple $100 or something. She goes, $20. And I go, $20.
$20.
And she goes, yep, $20. And you can park, if you're going to stay the night, park in the little round pen there over there. You can pull your truck in there so that the cattle don't rub up against your truck at night. So here's my buddies all going to the football game. I head out, go hunting. I shoot a nice buck and, spent the night on the ranch. And it was
That's
great.
awesome.
It was
That's
like,
awesome.
why not? So
I love hearing stuff like that, man. It's so critical. Another thing with it too, Matt, like and this all kind of comes out of my day job. Everybody's kind of always looking for what's in it for them. Right. And so usually the mistake hunters make when they're approaching a landowner is like, me, want access to your land, me. Instead, approach it like, hey, my name's Jim, whatever. What kind of things around here are you looking to have done? You got some fences that need fixed. You need some hay that needs stacked. Do you need a truck that needs fixed? You need, that barn, it looks like that barnwood's coming apart over there, or the lean-to's coming apart. If you're handy at all, like, you don't have to be that handy either. Like this, we're not talking about finished carpentry on a multi-million-dollar house. Like just little things like, hey, I'll give you a couple of days of labor fixing your fences. I'll help. One guy I helped. All we did was I helped this old dude get rid of a bunch of beaver dams on this creek that was flowing through his property that was flooding out his pastures. And I just spent the day with him, and he had his tractor, and we were like just busting up these beaver dams and helping that creek flow. Man, he let me hunt there for like 3 years. And
awesome.
And so, like, just little stuff like that, make it about them, how you can help them for a little bit of access. And you'll find that their definition of a little bit of access is generally going to be the entire season. Especially these older ranchers that have these properties that they've been running for decades. They start neglecting things because it's not priority, but they really want to see them fixed up. Man, a little bit of handy, initiative that you could take to help fix a few things up would go a long way. So
definitely.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, we keep kind of dancing around this Greenland thing. Tell us a little bit about you guided hunters in Greenland, and how did that even come about?
So the backstory on that, Jim, is it was 4 years ago, because I booked the hunt that my brother and my dad went on 4 years ago, and we did it 2 years in advance. But I was watching on YouTube, there was a Yeti series, a 6-part series. They're like 25-30 minute episodes, and it was Remy Warren, Pedro, Adam Foss, a bunch of the big name bow hunters, and Yeti sent them all over to Greenland to do this caribou hunt. And I finished that first YouTube video, and I called my brother up. I'm like, man, this looks so cool. And I've never even thought about Greenland before to go hunting. And I've always wanted to hunt caribou, and I've always thought, BC, NWT, or like Canada, Alaska, something like that. And you hear that quite often, but I was like, man, this Greenland looks so cool in the country there. It almost looks like our high country type terrain, big boulders, steep mountains. They got river bottoms, just beautiful country. So I told my dad, my brother, I'm like, man, let's book this hunt. And my dad's at a point where he's had so many surgeries. He's, double knee replacement, 7-level back fusion. He's had his hip replaced 3 times. I mean, the dude's been, lived a hard life, hunting, and then just get my brother and I into hunting and all that. So I go, now is our turn to kind of do a trip with dad. And he hasn't been with us bow hunting much because he just can't hike that far. So I go, man, we can at least have him in camp and go on this adventure. And he's like, yeah, sign us up. So you can hunt muskox and caribou there. And we just signed up for the caribou hunt. Just that's what we could afford at the time. And, booking it in 2 years in advance is what I'm a blue collared worker. I have a auto body shop and I paint cars for a living. But, with that being said, it's like, hey, these things aren't out of reach. If you put your money aside and, you know, book something in advance, you have that on the calendar for the family too to know about. And then you're like, hey, I put a deposit on the hunt, like we're going. So yeah, we booked that. We ended up getting to Greenland. So to get there is crazy too. We flew from Denver. From Denver, you fly over the southern tip of Greenland. You go 4 hours past it and you land in Munich or Frankfurt, Germany. From there, you fly to Copenhagen. Copenhagen, you spend a night in Copenhagen. The next day, you fly another 4 hours back to Greenland, and we're going up, landing in the. Is that crazy? So it's about
that's so nuts, man.
2.5, 3 days of travel to get to this place, which definitely probably turns some hunters off. But I mean, you could have that. You know, I mean, it's all part of the adventure. So we end up getting there. So that YouTube series, they did it a little differently. They did boats from the ocean. They'd spot caribou up on the mountain, and then they do stalks from there, which that's awesome. But we didn't want to do the boat part. So I contacted Frank Feldman. He's a big name in Greenland in the guiding business. And he kind of helped get the outfitting for bow hunters legalized in Greenland back in the day. And so I got in contact with him and his outfit. We fly into this little town called Kangerlussuaq, Greenland, and I think there's like 5 or 6 people that live there year round. So we land there and then we take this big helicopter with some of the other clients and we fly into this valley that base camp set up, and we're in these big Arctic dome shelters with kerosene heaters. So we get there the first day, and this is the last week in August that we're there this trip into the first week of September. So we get there, it's gorgeous, and they usually don't have any weather. You know, it's a dry climate. It's kind of similar to Colorado, actually. But we get there and it's gorgeous. We're in a t-shirt and jeans, and we're fishing for Arctic char right in the river by camp, catching fish.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, really cool, and they're delicious too. We were eating some for dinner, but anyway, that night, this huge storm just comes in and it's just dumping rain on us sideways. And we wake up in the morning, my brother and I get all of our rain gear on, and we're going out with a guide from Austria, and we cross the river in the raft and then start hiking up. And Frank, the owner, had told us the night before, he goes to all the clients, he goes, hey, if you guys get an opportunity, you know, with your bow on a caribou, he goes, take it, because you might not get another one. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, what I get, you know, I thought there'd be tons of game here, and they just hadn't started rutting yet. So they're kind of few and far between. And we start hiking up.
Yeah, can I ask you real quick, Matt? What, like, in Greenland, what is the normal rut cycle for caribou there? Is it like similar to elk, or?
It was hitting this past year when I was there guiding. It was hitting like middle of September, kind of towards end of September into October is when they really started firing up. In this past year that I was there, it was a little different just with the weather, but so they kind of later in the month of September. So it's give or take, because when they're rutting really hard, like I'll get into a couple stories also in a little bit, but when they're rutting really hard, it's even harder with a bow, because they're moving constantly, checking cows and then taking off. So they don't stick around very long. So if you're sneaking in,
that's what I was going to kind of ask you. It is, again, forgive my ignorance when it comes. I've never hunted a caribou.
Yep.
I might have to come see you in Greenland.
Yeah.
So like, do they kind of bachelor up like elk do or mule deer or something like that for most of the year? And then come. I always assume they were always together.
No, so these ones are not migrating herds like you see up in Alaska or Canada, where you have thousands and thousands migrating.
Yeah.
These ones, you know, they're up in the mountains in the summertime, and then they slowly start pushing their way closer to the ocean in the wintertime, just for feed and vegetation. So, kind of getting back to the story, when we were hunting on the first trip, I pulled out my SIG binos halfway up, and I get the image stabilizing binos, and that's another, if people listening haven't tried those things out, those are a freaking game changer, man. So I end up spotting a caribou, and he's a nice bull. And my brother and I go, yeah, let's go. We watch him bed, and we start doing a stalk on him. And he ends up getting up, starts feeding kind of in the opposite direction, doesn't smell us, doesn't see us. He's just doing caribou things. And he ends up meeting up with a smaller bull. And then there's just, two of them kind of together. And at this time of the year, they are kind of bachelored up with just bulls. So they're not with the cows. So they end up, we're kind of just dogging them, and they end up. So now we've hiked, our camp's at about 400 feet in elevation, and now we've gone up, 2,000 feet in elevation. So now it's snowing sideways on us.
Oh,
So
geez.
we see the bulls go over this ridge, and my brother and I look at each other, and when you're, you've been hunting long enough, when that light switch goes off, you go, bingo, now's our time to go. We just look at each other, didn't even consult with our guide. We just took off running, and he was right behind us. He was awesome. We got up, and I told my brother right before we crested the ridge, I go, get your rangefinder out in case I need, a follow-up shot or whatever, you can range for me. And we got up there, got on our knees, and it's blowing sideways snow, and I range him. He's on the other side of this valley, and he's at 65 yards feeding. I range him. I go, my fingers were so cold, Jim. They were so numb. I couldn't break my little lock on my spot hog sliding sight to adjust it. So I had to reach over with my left hand and pop it loose. My fingers were so freaking cold, and get it dialed, draw on the bull. When I get settled in, he turns and faces directly away from me, so I don't have a shot. So I let down, which was awesome. It was nice to be able to draw on him once, kind of see how it feels. And he had no idea we were there. We had the wind right and everything. And he ends up turning, staying at 65 yards, turns, gives me a perfect quartering away shot, draw my bow, just settle in, pull through the shot. It just breaks. And I couldn't see where the arrow went just because of the sideways snow going. And my brother just goes, perfect, you smoked him. And he starts running down the hill into the flats right below us, and I got another arrow knocked, and my brother's going 75. So I start to draw, and as I start to draw, he just boom tips over right in front of us, and we're going, awesome. Holy smokes, that is so cool. And the guide behind us, he filmed the whole thing, so I have it on my Instagram. You can see the video. He filmed it, and he's so stoked. He's going, man. He goes, I can't believe you shot one with a bow. I go, what do you mean? He goes, out of the first 4 groups of hunters this year, you're the first one to shoot a caribou with a bow. I'm going, man, I thought this was like, mainly a bow hunt, but okay, that's cool. And we get down there, and I ended up breaking down the animal. My brother and I were like, man, I'm not letting the guy do it. I want to warm up my hands, So we break down the caribou, bring it back to camp, and show my dad. And then the guide shows the owner, Frank, the video, and Frank comes over to our tent later on and goes, hey, you and your brother really know what you're doing with this bow hunting stuff, huh? And we go, that's our passion. That's what we do back home, and that's what we live for. And he goes, well, I'm going to let you guys hunt by yourselves the rest of the trip because I can use my guides for these other clients that really could use it. And we go, man, that's awesome, So the next day we end up going out with a client and helping him shoot a muskox with a guide. And Canute was his name, and he was there with me this last year too. And really cool, just stuff that you learn. He's an Inuit hunter from Greenland, and he told me, he goes, if you ever, on this last trip, he goes, if you ever have trouble finding caribou with your clients, he goes, you just ask the birds. And I'm going, what do you mean? He goes, and they have these like crows or ravens there, and they don't really have any predators up there, so they have these birds. And after you shoot something, the birds are just all over the carcass, and they pick that thing clean with their beaks within, a day. It's down to bones. But he goes, you ask the birds to help you find the caribou, and if there's any birds around, they see you as the hunter, and they'll fly in the direction, whether it's over mountains or whatever, they'll fly in the direction of the caribou for you. And I'm going, man, that's and then it makes sense. And he's going, the birds want to eat too.
They want you to get something.
The only time they get to eat, because they don't have a lot of predators there, eat meat, is when, either an animal dies of old age or starvation or something like that. So I go, man, what a cool little tip from, this Inuit hunter here. And so anyway, we end up, we shoot the other client shoots a muskox, and my brother's up on the hill, and he's taking a dump on the other side of the hill, and he's looking while he tells me this after he's looking with his binos up on the peak, and he comes running back after me. He goes, I just spotted a huge bull while I was taking shit up there. I go, what do you like? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was just looking. So I go, I end up seeing the bull too. I'm like, man, he's on the top of this peak, just this bull by himself. And he's a freaking stud caribou. So we end up dragging the meat. Since we had snow that day, it was the next day after the big storm. We drug meat sleds with the muskox all the way back to camp. And, it was like late in the evening, 4:00, 3:30 or something like that. Everyone was getting back to camp and drying off. And, they were getting some food and having a glass of wine or whatever. And I told Frank, I go, hey, can my brother and I go up after this caribou up here on the top of this mountain? He goes, yeah, we really don't have any luck on that side, but you guys can give it a shot, So we're like, sweet. We get geared up and throw a couple more snacks in our bag and get some water. And that's the cool thing about Greenland too. You just fill up your water out of the river in the creeks.
Oh, really?
It's all just, never have a problem. And we hike up, and halfway up, all of a sudden this huge storm comes in and just blowing sideways. My brother goes, should we just turn around and go back to camp? I go, hell no. I'm like, we're in Greenland. I'm not going to go sit in the tent with a bunch of dudes and just shoot the shit. I'm like, let's go. Let's full send. And he goes, yeah, you're right. Let's go. So we end up getting to the top, and, we're break through the clouds and the fog. So it's all sunny up top, and we're trying to relocate this bull. And all of a sudden my brother sees his antlers just over the crest, and not knowing much about caribou, we thought they were, so he was in a bachelor group. There's I believe four of them. And we thought their racks were, their heads were facing away, but they're actually facing towards us. So we had to range their antlers, and we had them at 55, and I was at full draw, went to go stand up. And then we both slowly sit back down. There's two of them that were kind of facing our direction. We're like, man, they're actually facing towards us, not away from us. So we got to, make a better plan here. So there was this little waterfall area going down alongside. So I grabbed the back of my brother's backpack, and we're sliding down. There's ice, snow mixed with water on the side of these rocks. And we slide down this steep little waterfall, and we get parallel to these bulls, and a couple of them are sleeping, a couple of them are just, they're just sunbathing. And we have them at the closest ones at 14 yards, and the biggest ones at 17 yards sleeping, quartering to us. And this is, you should get on the Instagram and check out this video. This is really cool. This is one of the recent ones that I reposted.
Oh, you reposted it. Okay. Is it one with all the snow, or?
Yep. You'll see that one. It's really cool. But so we go up, and I'm filming, and my brother shoots him at 17 yards, just, puts it right through the front of the chest, goes all the way back out the hind quarter, and they get up, and we just kind of sit back down slowly. They have no idea we're there, and they just tip over. Bull just tips over.
I see it. Yeah. Here's
how cool is that background too?
Look at that, man.
Isn't that sick?
And just for all you guys listening, the Instagram is MJ Schoeller, which is SCHOELLER. That'll be in the show notes. You guys got to check this video out. It shows you guys just rising up. Those bulls are bedded right there, super close, and you smoke them, man. That's a great video.
And man, the background is awesome. And if you look, close, I shot my bull way across the other side of the valley, so that was kind of cool just for me to see that. So anyways, we come back to camp, get him all packed out, all the meat and caped out and everything, and the rack. And the guys must have saw us, someone's outside taking a leak or something out of the tent and saw us coming back. So they all came out, and that was just a really cool moment, especially for my dad, man. He told us, he's like, I felt like I was, on top of the world. My two boys coming over with this huge caribou, went and shot him at 17 yards. So we come back to camp, and everyone's just kind of like blown away, like, man, you guys actually pulled it off. And we're like, yeah, man. Sweet. So then after that, then Frank goes, hey, you guys, since you're doing all this on your own, you guys go for muskox if you want. And I'll go, really? He goes, yeah. And that's,
well, how does that work? Isn't that like they're a tag system, or?
Yeah. So he has an area to hunt, and he's given a certain amount of tags allocated to him every season. Okay. So he usually ends up having, typically, I think how he does it now, he makes everyone do a combo hunt to pay for both. But, we were just paying for the caribou because that's what we could afford at the time. And to add on the muskox was like $8,000 or something like that. So we weren't going to do that. But he's like, hey, you guys, go. I got extra tags, so you guys are more than welcome. And that was really cool.
Oh, interesting, man. Like on the Instagram, as you're looking at, they look like grizzly bear in the video.
Isn't that crazy? They're such cool.
I thought you were stocking in on grizz. Those are muskox.
Isn't that wild? And I had, going there thinking about it, I was like, I wouldn't want to shoot a muskox. And then once we got there, my brother was like, man, can I trade my caribou tag for a muskox? These things are awesome, and just they were rutting and it's like grass-fed beef. It's pretty good. So
really,
yeah, it's not bad at all. But so anyway, we spot this muskox. He's a couple miles down from camp, just in the river bottom, and he had been rutting before, so he was just kind of like, taking a breather. And I was watching him, and he had his back into the wind and facing our direction. So I go, we can't get to him now. So we were just kind of watching him all morning, and all of a sudden, a couple hours later, he got up out of his bed, turned around 180 and plopped back down. I go, okay. I was like, let's go. It's go time. So my brother and I crossed the river again in the raft, did a huge stalk, and used the river to cover up our sound. And we had the wind just in our face, and it ended up getting 46 yards away from him. And my brother's behind me filming. I got my bow there. And the cool part about this too is my he was able to hike from camp up onto a ridge, and he's videotaping it through his spotting scope. So he's got a Swarovski with his little mag view or whatever he has to videotape through his spotting scope. So his angle, I'm shooting this muskox at 46 yards, and it looks like, the thing's right on top of us. So I shoot him once, put one arrow in him. I did the same thing that I did with my caribou. I drew on him once, and then I let down, and then I just kind of gathered it, and I didn't want to rush it. Yeah, you'll see that video in there too. It's so cool.
Yeah.
In the different angles, my brother's filming. I kind of bounced between my brother filming and my dad filming behind, and put the second arrow. I put one arrow into him, and he kind of just rolls to the side and then rolls back in his bed. And then I put another arrow in him. And as soon as I hit that second arrow, he stands up and turns at us, Jim. And Frank had told us, he goes, do not mess around. They will charge you, and they can cover ground pretty damn quick. And he turns around, and it's funny to hear the original audio from my dad's point of view, because that thing looks like he's touching my brother and I, and he's got his head down, and we're just frozen, so he doesn't see us. And my dad's going, put another arrow in him. He's like, arrow. And I just wait. I know they're both great arrows, and sure enough, he gets wobbly, and then boom, just tips over. And my brother and I started a little fire there, start cooking up some tenderloin and breaking them down. And man, it was just such a cool experience. And then
that would be, man. I'm looking at, man, there. It just, like, I've never really thought about going to Greenland, especially for caribou, but this muskox, man, they're ugly. They're ugly little big bastards.
They almost look like something from Star Wars,
Dude, they look like a cow and a buffalo, bison, I don't know, and a warthog had a baby or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're just so weird looking.
They're wild looking animals. So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, we just, made a fire there, just with some little tundra sticks. And it was my brother's idea to build a fire because it's still cold, and we'd warm up our hands, start breaking down the bowl. And it was pretty cool because he had like, it was a basketball size wound on his stomach from getting stabbed by another bull. And it was all healed over, but it was his intestines hanging out from his belly from getting gored by another bull from the rut. And it was probably, it could have been a year old, who knows, but it was all crusted over, and he was fine. But it was really cool to be able to take that bull and, just have a fire, cook up the tenderloin pieces while we were there, and bring it back to camp. And
do you ship all that meat home? or
So
do they not let
yeah,
you?
so going through Europe and then coming back home, you're allowed to take like I think it's like 11 pounds back with you, which kind of sucks. But Canute, the Inuit hunter, he's able to take all the meat and he can sell it. He distributes the caribou because the caribou is the best. He gives that to like his tribe. And then also Frank will give that to the local police and just the helicopter pilots because the caribou is so freaking delicious. And we're eating the caribou backstraps and tenderloins every night. But yeah, you can't bring a lot back with you, but nothing goes to waste. I mean, the
Yeah.
hides, the heads, those, it takes a year or something to ship back. But yeah, the meat, it all goes to the locals, and then usually the muskox, he ends up selling it to the restaurants because when tourists come into the capital of Nuuk and stuff like that, they like to have muskox burgers and they make sausage out of it. It's really good. It's great. So
Yeah, and it's not abnormal. A lot of places you hunt in some of these other countries, it's just you just don't take the meat, and that is kind of a, like for me, that's always been a hindrance of wanting to hunt like somewhere like Africa. People are
yeah,
like, why don't you go to Africa to hunt? It's supposed to be the best. Well, I'm sure it is.
yeah.
But for me, I don't know. It's the meat's a really important part, but at least they let you take the 11 pounds or whatever.
Yeah, and I also this past season, what I did was I was cutting off. So the fat on the caribou are really good too. So when you're butchering them, at first I was just taking, just the meat, and they go, "Oh no, leave that whole layer of fat on that backstrap," and that's how we cook it, and it's so good. So I was saving a bunch of that fat. So before I left, I rendered down a bunch of fat and I put it into a big jar. So now I have it at home. So whenever we cook our antelope elk back straps, I'm searing it in caribou fat, which is so
Oh,
good.
great. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
bet, man. I'll bet it's healthy as all get out
Oh,
too.
it's so good. We put
Yeah,
on our
yeah.
toast and
So now, okay, so you're out there, you get these caribou, you get the muskox, all this stuff. What happened? Did this Frank guy come at you and be like, "Hey, man, like you're pretty good at this. Why don't you come and guide for me?"
exactly. That's what he said to us. And I kind of thought, he's just kind of joking or messing around. But sure enough, a month later from us returning home, I get an email. Here's a list of dates. Let me know what works for you. And I'm like, man, like this guy's serious. And like I said earlier on the podcast, Melissa, she goes, "You have to do that. You have to go." And I go, "Really?" Like, got a young daughter and then all of our other kids too, all 5 kids, it's just hard to leave Melissa with all that going on. And she goes, "No, do it." So I ended up emailing back and, ended up heading back over. And this was my brother was supposed to go with me, but he has his own business as well. He does excavation, and then he's also building a house for him and his family right now. And while he's building the house, he's living at my parents' house. So they're trying to get the house done so they can get out of each other's hair
Yeah.
there. And so he wasn't able to go, but it ended up working out. Like, I went and I was nervous about it, but I knew I had the skills and everything going into it. And, I'm going to a different country. I'm not a client this time. I'm going as, an employee. And I had this gut feeling that my luggage was not going to make it. So I ended up wearing my big Zamberlan boots, insulated boots. I had my hunting backpack as my carry-on, my frame pack. It's a, EXO hunting pack, which turns into a frame pack. And I had that. I had one layer of I had gloves, I had socks, I had one layer of long johns, base layers, a hat, basically a rain jacket, rain pants, everything I needed to survive. And sure enough, Jim, I get there into Copenhagen, there go, "Your bags are still in Denver." I'm like, I got to get on a
Oh,
plane. I got to get
man.
on a plane tomorrow and go to Kangerlussuaq, Greenland. And there's only 2 flights a week that land in this town in Greenland from Copenhagen. So if my
No.
bags don't, and man, it just, yeah, the guys there were awesome. That were at the airport. They were the one dude gave me his cell phone number. He's like, "I'm going to text my buddy. And once they land, we're going to rush it over to your plane." It didn't work out, but so I got there and I had the guide without any of my, I should have had my binos with me in my chest harness and my rangefinder. But I go, "Hey, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I can, be miserable and pissed off about it, but I'm like, it's going to ruin and take away from the experience, and luckily I actually, it worked out good because I'd use the rangefinder from my clients, which was set up for their bow. Everybody's rangefinder is a little bit different. So I'd take their rangefinder and I'd range for them. And then I was able to borrow some binoculars as well. But I just made do. And man, the whole guiding thing there too was awesome. It was about 3 days in, even without having my gear, I set up a little 1-person tent by the river. I was able to, I could have slept in the Arctic shelter with the other guides. I go, man, I need my sleep and I want to kind of, come back and be able to get a good night's sleep. And some of the clients, they'd stay up and drink wine or whatever until late. And I was like, I'm going to go back to the tent. And so I set up a little 1-man tent by the river and I just, settled in. And after about the 3rd day, like all anxiety, everything just left. And it was so nice not to have those daily, just hustle and bustle of, everyday life here as like a business owner, having a big family, just a lot of things going on. And I just settled in. We had one goal, is just go out, hunt. I had some stress to, have my clients be successful, which all of them were, which are awesome. And it was just nice. It almost like rewires your brain. I forgot what day it was. I just kind of settled in. And I had a satellite phone. I brought a satellite phone. I had my Garmin inReach, but I brought the satellite phone just so I could, contact Melissa and talk to the kids, just because I was going to be gone for such a long time. But back to before we started recording, we talked about the Starlink, and we had this first group of clients. Some of them, they flew their private jet from Florida, and I call them rich rednecks, man. And these guys show up and they're road pavers, but they're awesome. Just real Southern guys, and brought their kids along. And they wanted to watch college football, so they brought their portable Starlink out there. So they're hooking up the Starlink to the generator that's running our little deep freeze to keep the meat in. And they're watching football and whatnot. I was able to hop on FaceTime, and I'm FaceTiming my family, showing them around camp, which was really cool. I didn't, go on my phone other than that, because when I go hunting, even here locally, I like to stay off of all social media, just kind of, disconnect from all that and really engage in what I'm doing. But that was really nice, and it saved me a lot of money on minutes on my satellite phone. And
oh, heck yeah.
I'll tell you what, we had better service in Greenland on the FaceTime than my family did here at my house. So yeah, I just hooked up the Starlink last night. So man,
it's amazing, man. The Starlink is amazing. I take it, like I told you, like with my clients, I just keep it in my truck. When we get back to the truck, like let's say, usually what we do is we'll go beat the brush and boondock it in a few miles or whatever in the morning. Then we'll head back to the truck, and like during archery season, for example, and then we have tree stands in all these wallows. And so really a good strategy is we'll go hit some drainages, cover some country. These are not dudes coming out that are usually used to going 10 miles a day. So I'm usually limited 2-3 miles a day. And then I put them in a tree stand in the afternoon over a wallow. And it's a really good way to kill elk, by the way. But anyway, that in between, I bust that Starlink out. I put it on top of the truck. They can call home. They can FaceTime. They can, check in on their social media or whatever they're doing. A lot of them are business guys. They're checking emails. It just resets them. And I think for me, I love it. I highly recommend anybody out there, get you a Starlink, man. That little mobile, especially you, if you're going to Greenland. I know you like to disconnect, but yeah, it's a good little tool to have. So. Are you like the designated bow hunter guide for what's the name of your outfitter, by the way?
So it's Bow Hunt Greenland, and it's Frank Feldman, and he's been doing it for a long time. He goes to all the big shows in the United States, and he's been in the game for a long time. So if you look up Bow Hunt Greenland, Frank Feldman.
Experience the evolution of accuracy with the new Browning X-Bolt 2. Guys, this rifle is something else. With the introduction of the X-Bolt, Browning has set a new standard in the development of bolt-action rifles. It was created around the goal of total accuracy, where every component worked in unison to improve downrange performance straight out of the box, from windswept tundras to rocky peaks high above the tree line to African plains and everywhere in between. The X-Bolt delivered the tack-driving accuracy a Browning rifle is respected for. And that's super true, guys. I really like this rifle from a standpoint of, like, it's not super heavy, it's not super light. I put a really nice scope on it. I love that Veritech stock, because that is like one of those pieces of accuracy that, you know, that interface between the rifle and the shooter. Not everybody's the same size. The DLX trigger, you can get the plus magazine system for extra rounds. Great all-around rifle in the field. For those of you that are looking for a rifle this year to take to the field that you can feel real confident in and get really comfortable with, this is the rifle to check out. The Browning X-Bolt 2 should be one of your top contenders. Link is in the show notes.
Yep, he needed for help in the bow hunting area, and that's really what caught his attention with myself. And he, you know, it's advertised as a bow hunt, but a lot of times, you know, like on this trip, out of the few groups of hunters that we had while I was there, I mean, I got my guys in and got them shots, but a lot of them ended up, you know, I think there's 4 guys total that got caribou with their bows. And a father-son from Austin, Texas, they're awesome. You know, he's a judge and an attorney, but it's meeting these people too when you're guiding so like-minded, you know, and him and I are just having this conversation. I paint cars for a living. He's a judge and attorney, you know. We wouldn't have typically wouldn't have a conversation with somebody like that on the street, but this love for bow hunting, and he goes all over the world, and I stayed in contact with him. He's having me down to Austin in a couple weeks to go shoot. I've never shot a whitetail, so he's going to have me come down there and shoot like a management buck or whatever, you know, a doe.
Oh, right on, man.
A pig or a javelina. So I'm just like, man, how cool is that? And both him and his son both tagged out with their bows on caribou, and it's just, you know, just so cool. Some of these people that you meet, and some of these other guys, they're coming in from like Alaska, and they have their own outfitting business in Alaska. I've met this couple from South Africa that have a game ranch that they hunt down there. And it's just such cool contacts. And like you mentioned before, you know, I mean, if there's any young man or woman out there who really is truly passionate about hunting, I mean, if I had this opportunity, you know, or had the opportunity of going to college, I would pick this every single time. I mean, you can make some great money doing it, as you know, and it's the experience, man. You can gain, just like you said, 1 to 2 weeks of guiding. You can get 5 to 6 years of experience out of you know, your average hunter that gets, you know, I mean, it's crazy, the experience. And also it gives you opportunities. So what I had the deal with Frank was I was going to go no matter what and guide, but I told him, I go, hey, I'm going from middle of September to the middle of October this past year for the guiding. And I'm going, man, it's really cutting into my archery season at home. And that's what I love to do. He goes, bring your bow. He goes, you go for caribou in between clients, you know? And
that's cool.
He goes, after the last hunt that you're on, we have a 6-day break. We all fly out of camp. He goes, you can stay in camp and go hunt. And I was, you know, just taking care of camp, and I was able to go out and hunt. And I ended up shooting I was having a hard time because it was after coming off a few weeks of guiding. Just every day we're going 10 to 16 miles to get to these caribou, and we'd get into them. But the thing is too, we're coming back every day. It's a little different. I've never got anywhere else, but we're shooting something, 1 or 2 animals every single day. So I'm taking 2 clients out, and we're either shooting 2 caribou a day, 1 caribou, or 1 muskox, you know? So it's every single day where I'm caping, breaking down an animal, packing it back to camp. They'd obviously help, which was really nice. And so, man, it's just the grind every single day. And there was times like I absolutely loved it, but there's also times where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, this is like, I'm never going to do this again. And then 2 hours later, I'm like, man, how can I do this more? This is like the best lifestyle ever. And
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, it's crazy the emotions that you go through, but it's just such a crazy experience. And yeah, man, I was able to harvest a really nice arrow, a nice carrot. Oh, so what I was getting to is the last day our clients were leaving, I was helping load all the muskox meat into the big slings that's helicopter sling, big basket underneath that they take all the meat out with. And I pulled something in my lower back and I was just struggling, man. I think I killed my bull on like the third or fourth day, but I had this back pain, man. It was so bad. I was bent over eating a sandwich, and then I'd go to stand up and it would spasm, and I'd literally fall backwards onto my backpack. And I'm like, man, like here I am helping all these other guys be successful, and like my turn to hunt, and I'm just crippled. But I just, stayed positive and just kept grinding. And all of a sudden, just, it's one of the tips that I wanted to talk about was just getting into striking distance. And that's what helped me on my antelope hunt this year and also my caribou hunt. And I've been finding that it's a really good tip for bow hunters, because a lot of the times when you get in close and you don't have a shot, then you try and get in a little closer, and then you blow it up and you're done. So I had this group of cows, half of them were bedded, half of them were feeding, and I go, boom, that's my opportunity. So I drop my backpack, I army crawl up, and it's snowing on me in Greenland this time, and I'm just getting soaked. And I get into striking distance, and I'm just staying still. I don't see a bull with them, but there could be one bedded, or they're running so hard that one's going to come check these cows if there's not a bull already with them. So right when I get into striking distance, I'm kind of hanging out, not forcing anything. All of a sudden I hear, and I look up, this bull's just beelining it down the ridge, straight to the cows, starts pushing up the cows, smelling them. And I'm on my knees. I draw my bow. He's at 49 yards. And then all of a sudden, he's broadside. All of a sudden, a cow steps right in front of him.
Oh, no.
I'm going, man. So I'm stuck at full draw. All of a sudden, he walks around the cow, and he's kind of giving me a frontal, and I'm going, man, I got that shot, no problem. So I shoot him through the chest, goes out. He comes running back towards me. I had another arrow knock, but I pull up my phone to kind of videotape it to see him drop. And then all of a sudden he starts walking away. So I put another arrow in him. But anyways, yeah, if you can just get into that striking distance and let everything unfold, you have such a better chance of being successful. And same with antelope. I mean, spot and stock antelope's so hard, and you're usually taking a further shot with those, but
I found on a smaller target.
Yeah, and if I can get into 100 yards of them, because they're usually, the buck usually has some does, and if I can get into 100 yards and just sit there and lay down, and I use knee pads, over the pant knee pads that my buddy Sean from Maui, he used those axis hunting, so I got a set of those from Amazon. And then gardening gloves, the ones that are dipped in plastic, a little rubberized. So I use those, crawl in. I put my bow sometimes, rest it in between my shoulder blades and my tailbone, and I'll just army crawl in and just lay there, because you're just hunting grass this tall. And sure enough, here comes the does, and then the buck follows, and ended up getting a shot on the 80-yard shot. It's further shot, but that's kind of what you're going. I mean, that's what you're given with a spot and stock antelope. And he jumped my arrow, and my arrow hit him through the back hind quarter, which, is not a great shot. But I just started using these Evolution Outdoors expandable broadheads. I know Brian and Dan, they all talk about them all the time, and that's what they use. And luckily with that broadhead, I was able to, I hit an artery and I was able to recover that buck. So just getting
awesome.
into that striking distance.
I shut my video off for we're in a big winter storm here. I'm letting the internet catch up. The video kind of really drags it down. I don't want to cut out. So basically, like that advice that you're saying is centered around getting into striking distance and then kind of waiting the situation out versus trying to outmaneuver the animal so that you're not going to blow that animal out. That's kind of the essence of that.
Yes, exactly. Just letting it unfold. And hey, sometimes like it doesn't work out. They get up and, walk the other direction, but then, you crawl in and get back to that 100 yard range or wherever you're, not that I'm going to shoot at 100 yards, but that's just a good distance to where if they start feeding towards me or just start milling around in that area, 30 yards, 40 yards closer, you got a 60-yard shot. So it's not just pushing the envelope. And in my younger years, I was like, man, they're not going to be here forever. Like, I got to get close and make a shot or make something happen, end up forcing it. And 9 out of 10 times it doesn't happen. So if you just have that patience and just sit back and wait, then, just let it unfold. And if it doesn't work out, you don't blow up the situation. They still don't know you're there. And then you can make another play on them.
Yeah, man. I think that is actually like some of the best advice that has come across on this show. I think you nailed it on the 100-yard range. That's that conditional location. Like a better way to put it is, most hunters screw up, and this could be for rifle or bow. Just in my experience,
For sure.
especially with guiding, I've noticed everybody, they want to try to force a situation. They want to try to force a scenario. They want to try to force that elk to come in a certain way, and he comes in a different way, and they blow it up that way. Where if you just, like, I'll tell you one of the situations calling in an elk this year during archery season was like, this elk was coming, man. This bull, he was coming. He was so mad. He was so fired up. And we got right into his like bedroom, We're probably within 70, 60 yards maybe, but it's real thick and brushy, and all of a sudden the bull goes quiet. And I was telling this hunter, I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Just hold on and get rid of the draw. And when I say draw. And he just like kept getting impatient and wanted to move. And he's like, are you going to call again? And I'm like, dude, quit talking, man. Just stand here. Cause that bull, and then he kind of shifts around and I see the tines of that bull turn around and start bolting back up the mountain. People just want to force it. They get impatient and they think that 5 minutes is not a long time to an animal. They're just working their way. And I love that advice that you gave, that, let that situation develop, because most of the time it's going to develop in your favor much more often than you trying to develop it yourself, because you're going to bust that animal. They do this for a living. They hear better, they see better, they smell better, they're more aware of their surroundings. You're not going to sneak up on them in their own bedroom. And so I love, unless you're, Matt, who's doing army crawls with a bow, balanced on his shoulders. Is that what you do, man? When you're crawling, you're just kind of, you're talking about like, you just balance that bow.
So I put it, vertical to my back, and I'll just balance it. Yeah. In between my shoulder blades, and I hunt with stabilizers too, but I can balance it between, my tailbone and my shoulder blades. And to keep it balanced on there is not hard when you're moving that slow. If you're trying to go fast, it's probably going to fall off one way or another, and I'll situate it, move it around a little bit. But as you're crawling in, I mean, I've found that to be a little easier if you're having to cover a lot of distance versus sliding it in front of you, because that's extra noise too when you're sliding your bow and having that break little sticks or move rocks when you're sliding your bow, or just hitting your sight or ding dong or whatever, your
and then
arrows are clicking,
you're snagging your bow and your arrows and your cams all over on all the little brush.
Exactly. So that with the combination of the knee pads and the gardening gloves, and then I obviously take the gardening gloves off once I get into my striking distance, but that's huge. And then I've been using too, because sometimes I'm laying out there for 3 hours. So this year I started using a little fanny pack. I put my Camelback in it just sideways and fill it with water and have that hose, so I can lay out there and sip on my water, because I've been stuck out there, in striking range. 2 years ago, I shot a really nice antelope as well, and I was sitting on them for 3.5 hours. It actually took me, I was more about like four hours from when I started the stock until when I got the shot off. So I was
Wow.
just sitting on them, and then, they finally got up and offered me a shot. But then I learned, I'm like, man, I need some kind of hydration. I was just, out in that sun, and it's so hot out there during archery antelope that was a
Mhm.
huge tip also that I forgot about, the little fanny pack with a little camelback hose for some hydration.
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. I love little tips like that. I always carry for like I have my mystery ranch pack it's like I've got the day pack and then I've got the bigger one, all in that Mysterium line that I love. Obviously they sponsor the show, so but I use those for covering country and being out there, getting into the backcountry, whatnot. But it's the little times when, like, for example, if I'm setting one of those archery hunters up in a tree stand over a wallow for the afternoon sit or whatever, those little fanny packs, or like even just a regular old school backpack, the little,
Oh yeah.
just a backpack thing, like
Hmm.
the kind you get when it's back to school sale or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Don't get a
Yep.
pink one,
We got
get
a
a
lot
nice,
of those laying around the house, that's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I'll
We
bet
got
you do, man.
unicorns on them. We got some sparkly ones, you name it.
Hey, my daughter caught a like 26-inch brown trout on a SpongeBob fishing pole many years ago. The
Oh,
kind of
sweet.
brown
Good for
trout
her.
that I have been targeting my entire life. She gets
Isn't
one with a
that funny how
nightcrawler.
that works? That's awesome. Good for her.
Well, man, I've kept you a long time. This is really interesting stuff. One more, like, being a guide at guys, if you're looking at like the outfitter here, it's bowhuntinggreenland.com. Let me go back to the homepage here. Make sure. Yeah, bowhuntinggreenland.com. Do you want me to put that in the show notes? Like, kind of,
You
are you
can
going to
if
go
you
back and
want.
guide?
Yeah, so I'm going back. I haven't told Melissa yet, but Frank wants me back, and I'm planning on going. I'm letting everything settle down, so I'll tell her
Let
before this podcast comes out, but I'm definitely going back. So
you have about 7 days.
perfect.
Hey, yeah. The other question, like, do you have to, like, here you have to go through and become a licensed guide, and CPR certified and all that kind of stuff? Do you have to do that there, or is that?
Not there, dope. So I'm just going
Huh.
under Frank's license and all that, and he has kind of guides from all over, mainly Europe. He has some from the United States. He told me though, he goes, "Man, I prefer Americans." I go, "Okay."
Oh, really?
He said everybody else, they have their own way of doing it. He goes, I get the Germans, they want to do it this way, and they have a better way of doing it than I do it. He's like, I've been doing it for a while. He's like, you Americans, you're typically hardworking, you're good at the hunting, and it's kind of interesting to, we had guys from Denmark there, Austria, like I said, just kind of all walks all over, which was so cool. I'm friends with all these guys now, and it's just
Man, I'm
such a
glad to hear that, man.
it's
I
so
like hearing
so
that
cool.
because usually when you're talking about any kind of foreign entity with it's always like Americans are frowned upon. They don't work hard, they
Mhm.
don't do this, they don't understand. I wonder if that has something to do with like the deep-seated traditional thing that hunting is to the American value set. For I'm not talking about your hippies in Denver.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
exactly.
like the normal Americans that are just kind of grounded in hunting, and it's this foundational thing for us. And I think that as like a community that we are as American hunters, we do have like this instinctual primal nature about us, and like that's why we're so passionate about it. You look at Europe, you have to be a pretty special person to be able to go hunting every year. It's not like
That's what
just
I was
anybody
yep.
can go.
Mhm.
They can't do what we do. They don't have the public land that we do, and the animals are
Nope.
not managed for the good of the people. They're managed from either a royalty standpoint or a landowner standpoint, all that kind of stuff. Where here we just I think it's good to remind everybody too in the audience how good we do have it here and why it's so valuable, worth protecting. Do you have time for one more question?
Oh, I got plenty of time. I'm loving it.
Okay,
Yeah. I want to end
cool.
with one story too after this, but with
Okay, cool.
getting my 7-year-old into it, but go ahead.
Okay. what is your, as a Colorado hunter, you're a Colorado native, like what's your take on the wolf situation in Colorado, and how do you feel about it? What's your reaction to all that? Because it's been kind of a shit show.
Oh, it is. And it's horrible too, Jim, because, it's all the people in Denver, Boulder area that voted for this. And it was a very close vote too. And it's just, we'd love to, have wolves back and hear a wolf howl. And I go, that's bullshit, because you know what? They dropped them off in my backyard. I'm looking across over at Mount Sopris right here, and I have trail camera videos of the elk, or the wolves passing by. Oh yeah, they're right here in our valley, and they're not the native wolves either, and they're problem wolves. And now they're on the ranches, just wiping out all the cattle and the calves. And that's what some of these wolves were kind of known for, and that's why they got shipped here, because they were already trouble wolves, and they specialize in, a lot of them, killing cattle. And these ranchers are freaking pissed, man. And they make it such a problem for them too to, how do you have proof that it was a wolf kill, blah blah blah, and like all these hoops to jump through. And then it's like, hey, we already have, up in northwestern Colorado, we've already had a breeding pair of wolves naturally making their way down into the state. Let them do it on their own versus dropping a shark into a fish full of goldfish. It's like our ungulates aren't used to that pressure, so
no, they're not.
It's horrible in my opinion. It's costing the taxpayers a lot of money also for the shipment. It's horrible.
It's just a shit show. The way, like, honestly, man, I am not one of those guys that will sit here and be like, we need to exterminate all the wolves, and we need to shoot, shovel, and shut up, and kill a pack a day. And I don't get into that side of it, because I'm I come at everything from a very realistic standpoint, and the reality is the wolves are here. They're not going anywhere. Somebody was just talking about this too recently, but I think it's important that as hunters we understand that is now the reality, because I was one of the loudest voices when it came to trying to advocate for Coloradans to get out there and vote against that bill to release them. Not because I don't think that wolves are going to be in Colorado, because they're going to be. They're coming from Wyoming. They're going to be in Colorado and Utah. It's just a natural spillover. And so I knew that natural process was already going to happen. The problem with Colorado is this mentality of, let's release these wolves with no management plan and bring these wolves that have a history of depredation on livestock in, and release them right there in the heartland of all the livestock and ranching operations right there, the agricultural interface, and bringing these wolves from places. In fact, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife right now is like threatening to take the management of the wolves in Colorado out of CPW's hands, because they broke some rule where they're bringing the wolves from somewhere other than the lower 48 or something. I don't know. I didn't read it fully, but a lot of the states are saying no to Colorado. They're saying, no, we're not going to send you wolves. And so now they're going to like Canada and getting wolves.
Exactly.
And, I think that's where that threat is coming from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife director, where they're telling CPW, hey, you're not living up to what the agreement was in order to have your management system in place, which is not a management system. Without hunting and trapping, that is not a management system. That is let these wolves run amok. And that's where the problem. That's where I get the bad attitude about wolves. Wolves are here. I have them. One of the biggest wolves the outfitter killed last year was less than a mile from my house, behind my place here. They're all over the place. We have big wolves. We have great big mountain lions. We have a lot of predation here. We have grizzly bears. We have black bears. Lots of predation. They're here. The reason why we don't have fatal mountain lion attacks very often, or here in Montana, is that we hunt them. We run them with dogs. And if you look at, well, I'm doing a big thing where I don't want to spill the beans on that whole thing. So let's just stick with the wolves for a minute. I get derailed, man. But anyway, it's the management, the management through hunting and trapping is where that's what makes having wolves on the landscape reintroduced into a landscape that is now fully developed. You know, we've got cities, freeways, airports, railways, reservoirs, all this stuff now that the pro-wolf advocates don't seem to take into account. And they just want to release them and let nature take care of itself. Well, that's just not how it works. And it's never worked that way. Humans have always managed them. Before we had CPWs and U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Montana Parks and Rec and all this stuff. Parks and Wildlife, sorry. I think I've had too much coffee, man. It's like after 2 in the afternoon. I need to like simmer down. I've been drinking coffee this whole recording, so I'm all wired. But you know, I guess the bottom line is we need to approach this from a sense of like maturity as hunters and not do this thing where we're exploding all over social media. We got to kill them all. That's just not going to achieve anything. They're here. Now we got to figure out how to properly manage them and get, I don't know if there's a way through that. I can't remember the name of that rule that Colorado did, where we're releasing them without any kind of management plan. Anyway, not the point of the show. I just kind of wanted to get your reaction, because Colorado does have the strongest, most populous state in terms of elk population. Yes. You guys have struggling with moose, but the moose have been coming back. That's all going to change with the release of wolves. It's a major impact. And so I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the solution.
Yeah. The moose top that you brought up, that's exactly what I tell people as well. I'm like, man, it's taken so long for the moose population to come back, and we have such a good population of Shiras moose here now. And, it's really hard to get a tag, and it's a once in a lifetime tag, but it's so cool when I go up into the high country. I'm seeing them up in the high country. I'm seeing them down where we hunt here locally too, but they're going to be one of the first two to be picked off by the wolves because, It's just an easy target for them. And, they just get the calves and separated from the moms, and, they just a pack of wolves chase them through the snow and tear them out. And it's just not like I said before, it's basically like putting a shark or a piranha in a fish tank with goldfish that have never had that stress or never had to deal with it. They're having to adapt to it just as much as we are, living here, to have these wolves coming back. And it's already hard enough to, bow hunt elk or any kind of ungulate, but having this added pressure of the wolves. And hey, I'm all for the wolves coming back naturally. And before they even released them up in northwestern Colorado, we have a breeding pack of wolves already doing their thing, and that's fine. I'm all for it. And as a hunter, people don't realize, a lot of non-hunters are like, oh, you guys are just bloodthirsty. I'm like, no, I spend more time around these animals, whether it's predators, ungulates, and I have such a deep love and passion for them, and I get to see them more all the time versus these people from Denver or Boulder who are like, oh, like I'll go on, Instagram and see a wolf howling. Yeah, let's have wolves. They're not the ones out.
The people that, exactly. They're not the one. They don't have a stake in it. And the people that will say that kind of stuff, the people that will say, well, you're just bloodthirsty and you just want to kill animals, all this BS. I act personally, and I think it's because I'm getting older. I hate the killing part, but I do it.
It's hard.
And it's like they act like we have no empathy for the animal. Yet I would like them to pull out their checkbook, and I'll pull out my checkbook. Let's compare what monies we put towards actual hard conservation, habitat improvement type causes versus over them. Because I guarantee you, between the money that I donate, and I'm talking about the average, I'm not talking about freaking who's like a famous actress that Sarah McLachlan type, I spent all this money saving animals or whatever. Yeah. If you strip down the money that they're donating to those BS causes like PETA, they're paying for big salaries. That like,
Oh, exactly.
let's compare dollar for dollar the
Mhm.
amount of money. Pull out your checkbook and let's compare dollar for dollar between the tags, between my advocacy memberships, such as like Foundation for Wildlife Management, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Mule Deer Foundation, all those, and then the money I spend at those banquets and the money that I donate to those kind of causes or initiatives to build, mule deer crossing things over the highways. Let's compare that, and then on top of that, the amount of money in ammo, firearms, arrows, bows, and then let's see if you still want to talk shit. Because the average person, there's no comparison, man, and it's just it's also not just the amount; it's also the dollar for dollar, the dollars that the Humane Society of the United States, the amount of that dollar that actually goes to hard wildlife management / conservation efforts is like less than 1%. And don't quote me on that. I haven't looked that stat up in a while. In fact, it's been a few years. But when I did look that stat up, I'll have to do that, and maybe I'll do one of those as that new quick shot episodes we do to compare the dollar for dollar amount.
That'd be a great one.
We will kill you in terms of how that money. I mean, I always go back to in 2023 at the Hunt Expo, that dude that spent $750,000 on one deer tag through the Mule Deer Foundation that goes to hard actual conservation efforts. They don't have stuff
awesome.
like that. It's crazy. So tell us the story you were.
So to wrap it up here,
I got us off base there.
No, it's all good. I'm loving it. I could go on for hours. My brother and I have been shooting turkeys with our bows for probably the last 15 years. And we usually do it. We don't use a ground blind. We just, face mask, full camo, and we're sitting under a tree. We have either 1 or 2 decoys out, usually just a hen or a Jake with that hen. And we just love it, man. Calling in turkeys, have either call by myself. I've done it solo, or have my brother and my dad back behind and they call, and having a turkey coming in gobbling, man, it's awesome. It still gets my heart racing every single time.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, it's just exciting. It's just a big bird, but it's so exciting. And I wanted to pass that along to our girls. And Abby, she's 7, and she's like our little boy, she's just so into all this hunting stuff. So I set up a ground blind a couple weeks in advance this past year, and got her in, and we got snacks we got drinks. I had a little owl hooter call to shock gobble off the roost. She was like, oh, I can blow it, like just having fun. And we had the blind set up, and I had it brushed in nice. It was also you could see through the blind, but you couldn't see into it. And I'm going, man, if we have set the decoy out, and I was like, if we just see a turkey or hear a gobble, like this is going to be a success. And she's already having fun, she's hanging out, playing in the dirt. I got her nice, comfortable chair set up with snacks. And all of a sudden she goes, I think I heard a turkey. I go, I don't know. I didn't, And then about a couple minutes later, I hear a gobble up on the ridge. I go, Abby, you're right. You heard a turkey. So I get on, I have my great grandpa's box call, just, get on that, and then doing the slate. And then I have my diaphragm, just showing her all the techniques of calling. And she's like, man, that's so cool. You can make those voices, with your mouth, and have the diaphragm in. And sure enough, this Tom's coming down all the way from the ridge, and he's gobbling the whole way, and he ends up coming 16 yards right into our setup. And I got back, and I just smoked this turkey. And I'm like, we got him, Abby. She goes, oh my gosh. She's like, the 3 of us, we did so good. I go, what do you mean the 3 of us? She goes, you, me, and the decoy. I was like, hell yeah. So we get out there, we walk up to the Tom, and she goes, man, I've never seen such beautiful colors, on a turkey's neck and the head. And she was just like touching it, just looking at the feathers, and just made really cool memories and got really good pictures and videos from it. And she was, that's all she could talk about for a while. It was awesome.
That is so cool, man. So she's like hooked on hunting now, huh?
She is. So she just got a little bow for Christmas, and she was out there, and I'm out there with the other bow. I got two of them, one for Grace, one for Abby, and I'm shooting Grace's, and we're shooting at this little pumpkin, and I'm trying to hit it too, and I'm not hitting it. And then all of a sudden this arrow just goes straight through this pumpkin. Abby just center punches the thing, and I'm like, sweet. I got a picture of her out there holding up the pumpkin, with the arrow sticking out. And two, it's also awesome, as girls, getting into it and having a voice in the hunting community as well is just awesome. And they even said, my 12-year-old, she goes, if I don't marry somebody that's a hunter, she goes, you're going to have to be supplying me with a lot of meat when I'm older, because they love eating the elk meat and, the antelope and the deer and the turkey. And it's just really cool. And, just nice that my dad passed down a passion that I feel bad for people that don't have a passion. And, something like hunting is just a healthy passion. It's something that, it's a lifestyle, like I said, and it just keeps you going year round. And, if I can have that impact on one of our kids, or just show them what, a true passion is, and whether it's hunting or not, they can just see like, hey, he had this great passion, and, he was just so happy and so into it.
I think it's really important for humans to have some kind, and it doesn't have to be hunting, any kind of passion for anything. It's good. It's good for the psyche. It's good for the soul. You have to have some kind of focus that makes your, like you were saying, you were getting all excited, like you were telling that turkey story. My heart rate went up a little bit, and like that's healthy. It's not just healthy because it's hunting and we get healthy meat and we're working out all the time to get up in the mountains and we're practicing. It's just everything that goes into it is what is missing so much in society today, with people who find, I think that people confuse like interests and hobbies, like action hobbies, like, action meaning sitting on the couch playing a video game. I don't think that is a passion, like dedication to something like hunting. And it's not like, some people are really passionate about sports cars and fixing those sports cars up, and that's all they think about. They're passionate about. I got a buddy that's way into souping up diesel trucks. He loves. He's always drooling over my F-350 that's all turboed out. I could care less.
Coal.
Yep. Yeah, I could care less, man. I bought it to pull a fifth wheel, and it just happened to be this souped up machine, and it's really fast and loud and cool. And I just put a new cool light bar on it out there.
Nice.
But it's not my passion. It's just just a tool, and I think that it's important that we do pass that down and show our kids, like you did with your girls, and at least show them that hunting as a lifestyle is a positive thing. And we need to like show that we're doing that too to the non-hunter. Like Cameron Haynes, I was trying to find his post. He posted this thing where he was like, kind of like, hey, 2025 was great. Here's what, like as an entity, the Cameron Haynes platform, like what it did. He like donated this much money to conservation, but one of them, as you kind of went through the different images, one of them that really stood out to me was he was like, I mentored and got 3 people into hunting, and one of them was like Jelly Roll, and I can't remember who the other ones were. That's really important stuff, man. Like I think as hunters, like we're all not going to do that on the scale that Cameron Haynes does. He's got this huge platform. And like, if we all did it on our own scale, like, especially to the non-hunter, hey, we raised $100,000 at this elk foundation banquet that goes to conservation. I showed one hunter, I introduced them to the sport of hunting, or the lifestyle of hunting. I always hate calling it a sport. I guess it kind of is, but the lifestyle of hunting. I showed one youth hunter how to shoot a bow. I shared, a rear elk quarter with a family down the road. Now they have a good chunk of meat in their freezer, stuff like that, just to show the positive side of hunting. And so that like when we show a video of an arrow going into a muskox, it's like, okay, there's meaning behind that over just we like to shoot stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
Because there is. Anyway, dude, again, I can derail us and take us down rabbit holes like
man,
you and like I'm doing.
I'm along for the ride. It's great.
Well, man, I'd love to have you on the show again in the future. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from you.
Thank you, and likewise. And I really appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity. And I was a little nervous at first, but man, this is fun. I could talk.
Yeah,
like-minded people. So
yeah, man, that's all these podcasts are, man. We're just getting like-minded folks on, and hopefully it's not just like going to an echo chamber, and it's getting information out to people that it is of value and maybe benefits somebody else in their life, and helps inspire people, for the future of hunting and whatnot, but also maybe to that non-hunter, lets them know that there is, like all the stuff we were just talking about, that this is a lifestyle dedicated to a thing greater than ourselves, and we're just trying to make it better. And we talk about it, and we post about it, and we share things about it, and hopefully that helps some of those non-hunters understand. We're not like the dudes in the movie Crocodile Dundee in the back of a pickup truck with headlights shooting kangaroos for no reason. So anyway, well, tell everybody where they can find you, man. Tell them your Instagram and anything else you want folks to know about you.
Yeah, so the Instagram is MJ Schoeller, and that's SCHOELLER. And yeah, a lot of those stories that I just talked about, they're kind of, you can see some pictures or some video reels on that as well. So head on over there and check it out. I like to think, I love taking videos and pictures as much as possible, because it's just so refreshing and fun to look back on. And then also just, show that experience to my family. And just, I had so many. Just also, there's a lot of posts on there where it's not killing animals. It's just, rutting caribou walking by, and you can hear them snorting, and you just watch their mannerisms. And it's just so cool to be a hunter, to be able to observe these animals at such a close distance. So even like when I was done hunting there, I had a few days left, and I was going out and just, watching the animals and just soaking it all in. And I wasn't, sitting back at camp like people think, like just chugging beers or whatever. I mean, I hardly even drink as it is. And it's like, I just so dedicated and to this lifestyle of bow hunting that, it's my passion, man. I love it.
Yep. I wish you could live closer, man. I'd love to, I don't drink much either, but I'd have a beer with you around a campfire. Because we are very much like-minded. I've never jumped on an exercise ball like that and shot my bow, though. My wife has one of those, so I might try that. But you're even doing it with the snow on the deck, dude. That's
snow
insane.
On the deck. I've always been balancing on stuff like that, and just I like to push it to the next level and just see what I'm capable of. And if you just stay stagnant, it's kind of, and people are going. That's another thing. People go, hey, like, oh, you don't need to be in shape to be a successful bow hunter. I go, yeah, you don't. But like elk I killed this year, I was chasing another 5x5 and his cows 3 ridges over, and then I lost them, and I heard a bull bugle back where I was. I hooked my bow onto my bow hitch on my backpack, and I just booked it back over. And hey, if I can get my resting heart rate to come down sooner than the average person, and then I can lock in and get a shot off, that's worth it to me right there, and I covered the distance, and I got into 34 yards and perfect shot. And it's like, hey, it's, if you, so I just like to, Cameron Haynes posted a video of him standing on a ball and shooting. I go, man, I can do that way better than you, Cam. And he ended up reposting.
Oh, it's a challenge.
Really cool. So ended up not much of a chat. Yeah, it's just it was just cool. And he reached out, started following me, and then just kind of cool. That one video, it's almost got, half a million views on it, 400,000 views. So it's just kind of cool. And like I said before we started, Ted Nugent's wife commented on it the other night, and
That's
it's just
awesome.
cool, like different people and just stuff like that. It's like, hey, it's not a hunting video, you're not shooting an animal, but it's still bringing light to archery. And like I tell people too, I'm like, hey, grab a bow and come do the tack shoot. Like, it's so fun just to get in the backyard. And I have 3D targets set out in my house. I got 6 acres up here, so we just shoot a little 3D range. It's fun, and it gets people thinking about it and getting the wheels turning. And
absolutely, man. It's inspiring stuff. I look at that video. I would have never thought, what is that called? There's like a name for that ball. Isn't that
there's a Bosu ball that they call, like, that's like I think like the half one, and then this one's like I don't know, just like an exercise ball. There's some funny comments on there. Yeah, people are like, oh, I've never been in the woods and jumped on a woman's pregnancy ball before and had to shoot an elk. I'm like, well.
Well, I call BS on this whole defensive thing that people say, "Oh, well, you don't have to be in great shape to bow hunt."
Exactly.
If you just want to sit on a high fence or a private ranch in Texas in a tree stand with a bow, no, man, you don't need to be in great shape. You can, go have Domino's pizza and McDonald's every day, and good luck to you, man. I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all, other than when I take clients out that are in terrible shape, that want a 350 class public land bowl, but they can't walk 100 yards. That's where it's like BS. If you want to go out on America's public land and pursue bugling bull elk in the mountains, I'm sorry, you got to be in pretty deep shape. Yeah, that doesn't mean you have to have 6-pack abs, but you do need to be in pretty decent shape, and you need to work towards it, or you're going to end up like 80% of the people I see out there driving up and down the roads bitching that the wolves killed all the elk. No, they didn't. You just don't want to get out of your truck. And man, when I say stuff like that, Matt, I get hate mail like you wouldn't believe. What's your email address? Let's just send it to you this time.
Yeah, it's
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding. They can send all the hate mail to me because I said that. But I stand behind it, man. You do. If you want to pursue animals consistently and kill mature animals, you got to be in shape. Sorry.
You can send it because I like the trash talk. It's actually nice, and it's just like kind of Cam Haynes says, it just fuels this fire, man. It's like it's kind of nice. I'm like, man, you're just sitting on your keyboard warrior talking shit, but what are you doing? Like, hey, this is awesome. It's actually kind of nice to read them. I'm like, man, that's fun. And
sometimes I actually learn from I'll say something and people won't like that opinion, and they'll send me send me reasons why I'm wrong. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, you know what? This dude's right. Actually, what I said. They're not going to find a way to do that with being in shape for mountain bow hunting, but Yeah.
And if you're not in shape, it's like, hey, that's fine. But if you and I are hiking up the mountain and I'm there with you, I wouldn't want to go against myself out there. I mean, I'm in pretty ripping shape to go hike, and I spend so much time doing what I love, and I'm not the best shot, but I shoot my bow all the time just to keep that muscle memory. And, almost every day I'm out there trying to get some arrows in and shooting broadheads too year round versus just a week before you go out hunting. But I mean, being in shape, and it also for the mental side of it too. And it gives you something to focus on year round on the off season. And hey, it makes it to where you can go the extra mile that it takes.
Exactly.
And you're not giving up.
And if anybody needs any inspiration, instead of throwing excuses out as to why you can't work out. Oh, I'm working 70 hours a week. Oh, I've got this going on. I don't have a gym close by. Dude, it takes me an hour to get to the nearest town that has a gym. I don't need a gym. I live in the mountains. That is my gym. And I'm not saying anything along the lines of trying to toot my own horn, but I have a hereditary condition in which led to me having a heart attack, like a widowmaker heart attack back in May 17th, 2025. Really? I did everything that I needed to do to prep my body and get my heart back in condition, in which I was still covering country. like I always do. In fact, I was covering country better than I have in the past. I'm still going 10 miles. I can do 2,000 feet elevation gains in a morning and do it again in the afternoon. That is because the excuse I have is that's what I want to do. I don't have the excuse that I have a busy schedule and a heart condition, so I can't work out, and therefore I can't cover this country to get into these animals. There is no excuse. Get out there and
for
do
you.
it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you're
Anyway.
healthy and recovered from that. But man, yeah, there's no excuse. And you can do, I got a couple kettlebells, and just with body weights, man, you can get in a killer workout in 30, 35 minutes. Push-ups,
Absolutely.
abs, you don't need much, you know.
You know what one of my favorite things is, now that you said that, dude, is go to like a thrift store, and you know those old person walkers?
Oh yeah. Yep.
You know,
For some dips.
get one of those and do dips on them because your arms are closer together. I was doing those this morning, man. Oh, dude, it's such a good workout. Like it works
awesome.
more. Yeah, it's a great dip workout, and they're like $5 at the thrift shop.
Yeah, no, that's a good pro tip right there.
Yeah,
that's
man,
awesome.
so.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Well, I appreciate it. This was a great conversation. I'd love to have you on again. I always know it's a good talk when I say, hey, let's go for an hour, and we end up going 2. So I just appreciate learning from you. You're inspiring. Lots of cool videos on your Instagram. You're a leader in the hunting space, man. I hope you keep it up, and let's keep in touch, man.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, consider you a friend now. You know, it's just that couple hours of communication, and it's just real refreshing, you know. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Matthews. They just took me on, and they're, you know, helping me out with bows now. So I just wanted to, I know they're sponsors of Eastman's, and that just was really cool for me, you know, for them to reach out and do that. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to that. And then also, yeah, like you said, all your other podcasts on Eastman's, and you guys do just a fantastic job. And I appreciate you know, getting the word out, and just keep up the good work yourself, and I appreciate it, Jim.
Well, I appreciate it, brother, man. Let's, that's start of a good friendship, man. In fact, I'm wearing my Matthews hats now.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah.
So, and thanks to Mystery Ranch, Leupold Optics, Securite, Phelps Game Calls, and Browning in the X-Bolt. You guys, I appreciate you supporting the sponsors. They make this show possible. Once again, thanks, Matt Schoeller. It was a great conversation, and check it out. The Instagram for Matt is in the show notes, guys. And I'll put that, I'll put his outfitter in Greenland in there if you guys are interested. It's actually more reasonably priced than I thought it would be. But if you're interested in that, it's definitely worth giving him a call and request Matt as your guide. That's what I'd recommend.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. See you guys next week.
You made it! That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at thewesternhuntsman, and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.